Ford hopes its petrol-electric hybrid Mondeo can convert enviro-conscious buyers in the medium-range segment. This isn't a hybrid of the fashionable plug-in sort, but it can still return over 50 to the gallon in regular use and offer a tax-busting sub 100 grams per kilometre CO2 rating. And you can have it in either saloon or estate guises.
Today, Ford offers all kinds of electrified power plants in its cars, but the first such engine dates back to 2014, and it was this self-charging full hybrid unit fitted to the fourth generation Mondeo. It's based around one of the brand's older petrol engines, a 2-litre TI VCT unit, and combines it with two electric motors, one to drive the wheels and another to supply regenerative charging. These being powered by a 1.4 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery. To start with, because this confection was primarily targeted at American buyers, it was only available with a 4-door body style that few in our market wanted. But in 2019, as part of a package of updates made to this car, Ford widened the hybrid engine's availability to include this estate body shape, and at the same time made the powertrain smoother and improved its regenerative braking capability. Now let's put this rather unique Mondeo to the test. Unlike the hybrid options offered in this segment by Volkswagen, Skoda and Peugeot, this Mondeo's HEV setup isn't one of the pricey plug-in sort, which means you don't get astonishing all-electric style fuel returns, but then you do without the outlandish asking prices that those brands will ask for their full hybrid models too. Instead, a Mondeo Hybrid has the more conventional type of self-charging petrol-electric setup you'd find in a slightly cheaper but smaller and less powerful model like Toyota's Prius, where the engine cuts in and out to assist electric propulsion as and when required. Ford's third-generation Kuga SUV offers this kind of hybrid too, but this Mondeo setup is a much older design based around an ageing 2-litre TI VCT petrol power plant that was long ago deleted from the company's portfolio in its conventional form. Here, that unit is mated to an 88 kilowatt electric motor and a 1.4 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery that both sit at the back of the car but drive the front wheels via a power split 6-speed automatic auto transmission. That auto box decides at any given moment what power should come from the engine, the electric motor, both at once or neither. Plus, it includes an extra L setting that forces the engine to rev harder and is intended to help control your speed in tricky downhill conditions. The whole self-shifting package works like the kind of CVT rubber band auto transmission that Toyota and Lexus hybrid products use. Which means that, like those cars, there's often a tendency for the engine not to feel very interested in what your right foot is asking from it. Rest to 62 miles an hour is supposed to take 9.2 seconds en route to 116 miles an hour. But this car doesn't actually feel anything like that fast. Try to push on a bit and you usually get a flare of revs accompanied by not a great deal of extra forward motion. If you can adjust to the way that this whole setup refuses to be hurried, you'll possibly bond with it quite well. Much of the energy that charges the battery is harvested through the regenerative braking process, now achieved much more smoothly in this car without the kind of grabby brake pedal that afflicted this package in its earlier forms. Plus, more energy is harvested when coasting, when it's common for the engine to cut out completely, even at motorway speeds. Despite the fact that we've had this technology now since the turn of the century, it's still quite impressive to be able to watch it all work via the various provided dashboard displays. And the system's ability to allow you to pull away silently on battery-only power always tends to fill you with a smug sense of eco-friendliness. But we're disappointed by the way that the whole package kills any real sense of driving pleasure, which was the thing that always used to set a Mondeo apart. In the future, Ford will offer better electrified engines than this, and already does in some of its other models. For the present though, this Mondeo Hybrid is worth considering if you simply need a cruisy business conveyance and don't want a diesel. If there's one thing that's defined Mondeo design over the years, it's that it's become bigger and more upmarket with each passing generation. This current fourth generation CD391 series design is no exception to that rule of evolution, but needed an extra layer of polish to justify the sums being asked for plusher variants like this one. And that's been applied as part of the revisions made here. As ever, the range is primarily built around two body styles, this estate or a 5-door hatch. Opt for the hybrid engine we're trying here, and your choice is between this estate or a 4-door saloon. On to the details of this Ford's exterior design, starting here at the front, where 4 smart crease lines sweep down the power dome bonnet into a trapezoidal front grille that now varies in style based on the trim level you've chosen. This top Vignale variant, for instance, gets what the brand calls a Flying V satin silver finish. The design of the lower grille has been refreshed too and blends into redesigned fog lamp surrounds. These have required a slightly more sculpted bumper design that incorporates this more pronounced lower lip spoiler. If this was a more modern design, it would feature the full LED headlamps that rivals use. As it is, old-fashioned halogen lamps feature across the range, except on top Vignale variants, which feature the LED adaptive beams you can pay extra for on most other derivatives. Move to the side and you're reminded just what a large car the Mondeo is these days. As you'd expect it would have to be, given that it has to share its platform with Ford's large S-Max and Galaxy 7-seat people carriers. This estate variant is 4,867mm long. The sheer size is softened by a prominent mid-level crease line that flows from front to rear through the door handles. This oversized hybrid badge trumpets the status of the HEV engine being used by this particular variant. At the rear, the facelift changes see these restyled C-shaped tail lights, now intersected by this full-width silver strip. On this estate model, you get this subtle roof spoiler, incorporating a high-level brake light, and this Vignale variant is set apart by a further silver bumper strip. Time to take a seat inside, but before we do, let's touch upon something we don't normally talk about. The ignition key. Now this one's programmable, which means that it can be set to automatically restrict elements of the car's functionality. Things like maximum speed and stereo volume. It can even deal with seatbelt reminders and prevent vital safety systems from being switched off. It's a useful touch that will provide vital extra peace of mind if you occasionally need to lend your car out to someone but want to oversee how they use it, say your university-age son or daughter, for instance. You'll get 2 of these, so-called My Key fobs, when you take delivery. Just keep an unrestricted admin key for yourself and use the other to keep borrower driving in check. OK, let's take a seat behind the wheel. Now, in the past, cabin quality in this Mondeo has always reflected the difficulty Ford has in trying to produce a product with different applications for different markets. In the US, for example, this model's marketed as a more budget-orientated car and uses harder, cheaper trim plastics. Some of these have been stripped out for this Mondeo in its European spec, where it must sell as a much more upmarket thing. But something of that bargain basement feel still remains, even if you stretch all the way to the top Vignale spec we're trying here. Ford has hoped to soften the effect of this with liberally applied lashings of silver trim and standard leather upholstery on most variants, which in this flagship model comes with this unique tuxedo-style stitching and lovely contrast colour piping. The brand has also worked hard on cabin detailing as part of the facelift package of changes made to this car, hence the smarter door handle trim and improved fit and finish between the centre console and the instrument panel. Whether you think all of this really delivers the intended premium feel is a matter of personal preference. You might feel, as we do, that the plush tinsel actually makes the cheaper materials stand out all the more. Whatever your perspective, though, you should find the ergonomics difficult to fault. The driving position's just right and will be ideal for somebody using this car to rack up a serious number of miles. There's just the right amount of movement on offer from the seats and the reach and rake adjustable steering wheel so that both pedals and gear lever end up perfectly placed just where you want them. Ahead of you through the leather-trimmed 3-spoke multifunction steering wheel, there's an instrument cluster that varies quite a lot in configuration, depending on the engine and trim level you've chosen. A hybrid derivative like the one we have here has a central speedometer flanked by a couple of 4.2-inch screens. The left-hand one can be a trip computer, a digital speedo, or an EV driving gauge. And the right-hand screen deals with entertainment, phone, navigation, and various helpful fuel economy displays. Anything the instrument binnacle can't tell you will probably be covered by the 8-inch Sync 3 colour touchscreen that dominates the centre stack, smoothly integrated into the dashboard, rather than sitting proud of the fascia like an afterthought, as is the case with most opposition models. It's there to play its part in reducing button clutter, giving the cabin a cleaner, smarter feel, and felt quite high-tech back in 2014. A few years on, though, the graphics and screen refresh times lack the sophistication of rival infotainment packages, and you might also object to paying this amount of money, then being given exactly the same infotainment monitor that's fitted to a Fiesta. Still, you can't fault the range of features the Sync 3 package provides, improved on in this revised model by the addition of a freely downloadable Ford Pass app. This allows you to select points of interest along your chosen route, search for refuelling points by brand, price or fuel grade, and search for available parking spaces, checking costs and car park opening hours. As for more conventional stuff, well, we're pleased to see that an old-fashioned CD player has been retained, and climate controls can be activated on the screen if you don't want to use the fiddly buttons further down the centre stack. The other main screen options allow you to deal with audio settings, navigation, various apps and Bluetooth phone activation. Plus, of course, there's Apple CarPlay and Android Auto smartphone mirroring. Voice activation allows you to issue simple one-shot commands like play song to play a track from a CD, where am I to find out where you are, or even I'm hungry to bring up a list of local restaurants from the system's built-in Michelin guide. Directions can then be activated from the split-screen navigation display. Not so good is the way this touchscreen attracts fingerprints and reflections that you'll particularly notice if you've got the optional panoramic sunroof fitted. Features like that certainly make you feel spoiled, as does the superb 12-speaker Sony DAB audio system that Vignale versions of this revised model get as standard. As you'd hope from what must primarily be a business conveyance, this is a very practical place to be. A deep-lidded storage box between the seats incorporates a drop-down tray and a USB port, and you'll find another USB point in this recessed area under the centre stack. Twin cup holders sit behind the gear stick. There's an overhead compartment for your sunglasses, and ticket clips sit in the sun visors. The glove box is one of the most useful we've come across, with 2 levels and a useful net on the inner lid. And the door pockets are deceptively big and incorporate a holder able to accommodate a 1.5 litre bottle. We like the little design touches you can't see too. For example, the humidity sensor that stops the windows fogging up and delivers best-in-class cooling in hot weather. And the high-tech air filter, 8 years in development, which is extremely effective in blocking ultra-fine particles, dealing with 99% of pollen to help the quarter of Europeans who apparently suffer from hay fever. And let's finish up front with some comments about visibility. The front A-pillars are a bit on the chunky side, and the sloping roofline and wide rear pillars mean that over-the-shoulder vision isn't ideal either. So it's just as well that front and rear parking sensors are fitted as standard across the range. Time to move rearwards and appreciate the difference this car's larger than average shape can make for your passengers. 3 big adults across the back seat of an Audi A4 or a BMW 3 Series is a squash. That's only slightly improved if you opt for something mainstream like a Vauxhall Insignia or a Volkswagen Passat. Here, it's no problem at all, with superb space for shoulders thanks to the class-leading width of the cabin. Legs and knees are also well catered for thanks to a low centre transmission tunnel and these relatively thin front seat backs. Plus, headroom's fine too, unless you're over 6 foot. And in the back of the hatchback version, in which case the sweeping roofline might see you brushing the ceiling, particularly in a car fitted with the optional panorama glass roof. Thanks to its longer roofline, this estate version's a little better in this respect. Useful inclusions back here include the twin cup holders you'll find in this centre armrest, seat back pockets, twin centre vents, coat hooks by the reading lights, and big door bins that can also take a 750 millilitre bottle. Plus there's a 12-volt port and even an AC 230-volt socket. Luxurious additional touches on this Vignale variant include double-stitched door cards and heated seats. Right, let's take a look at the boot. Now, only this top Vignale model gives you this powered tailgate, and it's nice to have because the hatch is otherwise rather heavy to lift. Once open, a really broad loading bay is revealed with the hatch version as well as with this estate, which ought to mean you can carry quite a lot, and does on Mondeo models fitted with conventional petrol or diesel engines. A conventional hatch version can take 541 litres, which rather curiously is significantly more than the 500-litre capacity you can fit in the boot of a conventional estate. Those figures don't apply to the hybrid model we're trying here, and it's easy to see why. The huge corpse-like bulge in the floor conceals the HEV system's battery and electric motor, slashing cargo capacity to 403 litres in this estate and just 383 litres in the hybrid variant's alternative saloon body style. There is at least a bit of extra storage space beneath the cargo area base, but there's no room for the mini spare wheel you can specify on a Mondeo featuring a more ordinary engine. Convenience touches include 4 tie-down points, a couple of bag hooks and a 12-volt socket. And the low loading lip that comes right down to bumper level makes it easy to get your stuff in, though in doing so you might easily scratch the impractically silver-trimmed floor plate that features on this upper spec variant. This Mondeo's design isn't new enough to feature a 40-20-40 split rear bench, but it has the next best thing, a ski hatch you can open to push through longer items. When you drop the rear bench, a decently large space is opened up, though total capacity is obviously compromised by that boot floor bulge. Still, ticking the box for options like luggage retention nets and dog guards can still leave you with a pretty practical space for family life. Right, let's talk about the value proposition that this Mondeo offers with hybrid power, which Ford is putting a much greater emphasis on as part of the changes made to this facelifted model. Here, a 2-litre TI VCT petrol engine is mated to an electric motor and transmits a total output of 187 PS to the tarmac via a 6-speed auto gearbox. The brand hopes that up to half of all Mondeo buyers will choose this petrol-electric unit, which sounds ambitious given that hybrid models come only with plusher titanium or top Vignale trim and are pitched in the £28,000 to £32,000 bracket. That would still represent very decent value if this were a hybrid of the plug-in variety, the kind of technology favoured in this segment by brands like Volkswagen, Skoda and Peugeot. This Ford's petrol-electric unit, though, is one of the lower-tech, non-plug-in, self-charging sort, the kind of thing that Toyota tends to sell. You have to have a hybrid engine to get this Mondeo as a saloon, but since very few buyers in this segment want a sedan from a volume brand, Ford has widened its petrol-electric model scope by also making it available as an estate, which, as you can see, is what we have here. How does this hybrid model stack up in value terms against competing petrol-electric alternatives? Well, Ford has been investing a lot in this kind of engineering in recent times, introducing various mild hybrid versions of its existing petrol and diesel engines. But there's not at all the same thing as a full hybrid power plant, which is virtually always based around a petrol engine. As you may know, there are two kinds of full hybrid unit. The plug-in ones that can be hooked up to an external power source, and the so-called self-charging sort that can't. Ford's third-generation Cougar SUV offers buyers the choice of both, but because this fifth-generation Mondeo is one of the brand's older designs, it sticks with the older tech self-charging approach. We briefed you earlier on the fact that Mondeo Hybrid pricing starts from around the £28,000 mark. You could say that in this form, this Ford is unique because there isn't another similarly sized D-segment self-charging hybrid competitor in the segment. Certainly, models like Kia's Niro, Hyundai's Ioniq and Toyota's Prius all offer self-charging hybrid engines, and these sell at or around the £25,000 mark, but those are all significantly smaller, less powerful cars. Toyota's Corolla Hybrid is theoretically a smaller C-segment sized car too, but in touring sports hybrid estate form, also priced from around £25,000, it actually offers more luggage space than you'd get in a Mondeo Hybrid estate and is significantly more economical to run. A Corolla has a lot less room for rear seat passengers than you get in this Ford though, so ultimately it depends what you want. Where more usual competitors to this Mondeo feature hybrid power in this class, as in the case of Volkswagen's Passat, Skoda's Superb and Peugeot's 508, it's always wedded to plug-in technology, which is nice to have, but means a high asking price. Think getting on for £35,000 or more, which can't these days be partly offset with the help of a government grant. Enough on the pricing and marketing positioning of the various models in the Mondeo range. Having done the price and spec comparison, so you don't have to, what we've learned is that Ford has a very good case for claiming that this Mondeo offers one of the best value all-round packages in its segment. If you've decided that you agree with that perspective, you're going to want to know just how generous the Blue Oval brand has been with the standard spec. So let's take a look at that now. Titanium edition versions get 18-inch wheels, automatic headlights with an auto high-low beam, rain-sensing wipers, keyless entry, and various pieces of extra camera-driven safety kit that we'll cover off for you in a moment. Inside, a Mondeo titanium variant gives you premium leather upholstery, multicolour ambient lighting, an auto-dimming rear-view mirror, 10-way power-adjustable heated front seats, rear floor mats, and a Ford Power starter button. Here, as you can see, we've chosen a variant with flagship Vignale trim. These derivatives recognisable by their bespoke upper and lower front grille, super bright LED adaptive headlights, premium body colour paint and unique dark tarnish 19-inch alloy wheels. Vignale trim entitles you to special charcoal or cashmere coloured tuxedo stitched leather upholstery, a rear-view camera, velour carpet mats, a heated steering wheel and enhanced ambient lighting. There's also a powered tailgate, Vignale door scuff plates, a high-quality 12-speaker Sony DAB audio system and an active noise control system that cancels out road noise through the stereo speakers. On to the options you can have with your Mondeo Hybrid. Although the large panorama glass roof available with more conventional engines can't be ordered with this engine, a powered sunroof can be, and we've got it here. There's also an optional premium driver's assistance pack, which gives you Ford's active park assist system to steer you into parallel and perpendicular spaces, and a stop-and-go addition to the adaptive cruise control system that'll seamlessly deal with motorway tailbacks. On titanium edition models, the premium driver's assistance pack includes a rear-view camera and the upgraded 12-speaker Sony DAB audio system too. On a titanium edition variant, that audio setup can alternatively be ordered as a standalone option, as can LED adaptive headlamps. There's also a Luxe pack available to top-spec Vignale buyers. It includes heated and cooled multi-contour front seats with a massage function, plus heated rear seats. Practical optional touches include rubber floor mats, mud flaps and a retractable tow bar. Plus, you could add Climb-Air wind deflectors that fit around the front window frames to reduce wind noise and turbulence when the door glass is open. Roof racks, roof crossbars, roof boxes and carriers for bikes and skis are also available. And in the cargo area, You could add a vertical load retention guard, a load compartment protector and a Climair bumper protection plate to guard against loading scuffs and scratches. Bear in mind that unless you order your car with the only standard body colour, solid blazer blue, you'll have to pay Ford more for one of the available standard premium or standard exclusive metallic body colours. As mentioned earlier, the Vignale trim level gets its own range of specific Vignale exclusive body colours. We've got chrome blue here. On to safety equipment, and as you'd expect from a car in this segment, this Mondeo has an autonomous braking system. Ford calls its setup pre-collision assist and has updated it in recent times with specific pedestrian and cyclist detection features. As usual with this sort of technology, this package scans the road ahead looking for potential collision hazards as you drive at up to 50 miles an hour. If one's detected, you'll be warned. If you don't respond or aren't able to, the brakes will automatically be applied to decrease the severity of any resulting accident. Also standard across the range is an emergency assistance feature, which will automatically alert the rescue services with your exact GPS location should the airbags go off in an accident. Avoid entry-level Z-Tech edition trim, which you can't have on the Hybrid, and you also get two other camera features, a lane-keeping system that'll alert you if you drift out of your lane on the highway and apply gentle steering torque to ease you back to where you ought to be, and a traffic sign recognition feature that pictures speed signs as you pass and displays them on the dash. This works in concert with the intelligent speed limiter system, so you can avoid accidentally going over the limit on any given road. If you want to go further, you can pay extra for a package that gives you blind spot monitoring system and cross-traffic alert. Blind spot monitoring stops you from dangerously pulling out to overtake when there's a car in your blind spot, and cross-traffic alert warns you of oncoming traffic if you're reversing out of a parking space. As for passive standard safety features fitted as standard across the range, well, as you'd expect, this Mondeo comes with twin front, side and curtain airbags, plus ISOFIX child seat mounts, a tyre pressure monitoring system, hill start assist to stop you from drifting backwards on uphill junctions, and all the usual basic electronic assistance features. These include ESC, stability control of course, and anti-lock brakes with emergency brake assist feature that shortens the time between pressing the pedal and the anchors coming on to further reduce stopping distances. There's also a driver alert system that warns you if your reaction suggests that you're getting tired. Other clever features include pull drift compensation to reduce the extent to which the car would otherwise pull to either one side or the other in crosswinds or on uneven roads, and torque steer compensation that helps prevent the front wheels veering off to one side in high bursts of acceleration. It's quite possible, probable even, that until viewing this film you didn't even know that a Mondeo was available with a hybrid engine. Ford hasn't promoted it much, but wants to now. The hybrid setup on offer here can't be plugged in. It's of the older tech self-charging sort, but you'd still think that all the ingredients would be here for impressively low running cost returns. A 2-litre TI VCT petrol unit is mated to an 88 kilowatt electric motor and a 1.4 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery that both sit at the back of the car but drive the front wheels via a power split 6-speed automatic transmission. That auto box decides at any given time whether power should come from the engine, the electric motor, both at once or neither. And you can monitor what's being powered by what via a selectable energy display in the apps section of the Sync 3 centre dash screen. From start off, the car always reverts to battery power only, and it often also does so not only in urban motoring but also at cruising speeds, even quite high ones. Which is why Ford is able to quote a tax-busting NEDC rated CO2 figure for this car, just 98 grams per kilometre if you've a titanium spec version with 18-inch wheels. For the top Vignale variant we have here with 19-inch wheels, the figure is 103 grams per kilometre. As for fuel consumption, well, unless you were to drive this car exclusively in urban conditions, it wouldn't be as economic as the diesel variant, but It's still supposed to manage up to 52.3 mpg on the WLTP combined cycle, whichever trim level you select. In this test, we've managed returns somewhere in the 40s. How well you do in this regard depends on how well you've adjusted to this petrol-electric model's laid-back, unhurried demeanour. But if you can do that, your real-world returns from this Ford have the potential to be just as good, if not better, than those you get from a much pricier plug-in hybrid model in this segment. To prove the point, the eco website nextgreencar.com recently did a real-world test over 20,000 miles comparing a Mondeo Hybrid with a plug-in VW Passat GTE. They found that this Ford was 12 miles per gallon more economic from every gallon and saved £619 in fuel costs over the test period. Make of that what you will. To emulate that kind of showing, you'd certainly need to be making full use of all the various eco-minded driving aids that Ford provides here. There are an awful lot of them. Let's start with the Eco Select feature, activated by this button by the gear stick, which makes slight changes to throttle response and climate system output, while increasing regenerative braking, all in pursuit of greater efficiency. The braking element is important. The battery can be charged with surplus energy at cruising speeds, where the engine sometimes cuts out entirely, but the majority of the engine the lithium-ion cells need comes when you slow the car. This is so important that the dash display includes a brake coach system that encourages gradual braking to help make the regenerative system more effective. There's also a regen display that has circular arrows around the displayed battery symbol when energy is being recaptured. And the auto gearbox has an extra L setting that increases the regenerative effect. At the end of each drive, you'll be rated in terms of your journey's overall brake efficiency. Aware that none of these features will be particularly effective if the driver isn't on board with the whole efficiency mindset, Ford has provided a range of instrument cluster tools intended to better involve you in the whole process. Empower and Engage displays in the screen to the left of the Speedo show kilowatt power delivery and battery usage, as well as lighting up with an EV symbol when you're running without engine assistance. To the right of the Speedo, you can select a coach screen that provides a graphical comparison of your recent acceleration, braking and cruising behaviour, or an efficiency leaves screen which adds leaves and vines to its display to designate success in short-term driving efficiency, and which even thanks you for driving a hybrid at the end of your trip. Or you might prefer to look at the fuel history graphical screen, which includes an instantaneous economy gauge alongside historical fuel data harvested over the last 1, 2 or 6 minutes of your journey. A selectable trip computer screen also shows the distance travelled on battery power only. So there's lots of clever technology on show here. We particularly like the special exhaust gas heat recovery system that enables faster cabin warming, reducing the energy the climate system then needs to use. You'll really notice that on winter days. What else might you need to know with regard to running costs here? Well, residual values are of course key for this car, a big ticket item that Ford has worked hard to improve with some success. Independent experts reckon that after 3 years, a hybrid model like this one would still be worth 41% of its original value. That's not enough to make this Mondeo quite as depreciation-proof as a competing Volkswagen Passat, but having said that, you'd be paying significantly less for one of these up front. So, if you're calculating whole life costs, this Ford can still look a very attractive high-volume model prospect. The key here is to be reasonable in your expectations. Diesel variants will hold on to their value best, but the potentially lower servicing cost of the hybrid petrol unit will remain attractive for lower mileage drivers. What else? Well, we'll tell you about servicing, which is required every 2 years or 18,000 miles, whichever comes first. 2 prepaid servicing plans are available, one that covers you for 2 years and 2 services, and another that is transferable to future owners and and covers 3 years and 3 services. Maintenance bookings can be done online through the My Ford portal. This is part of the Ford Blue Service scheme that wraps up all of the care and maintenance of your car into one bundle that includes a free 30-point e-check of vital parts and highlights any work required with a red, amber and green traffic light warning to rank items that need attention in order of importance. There's also the Ford Service app that you can download to your phone for free. It lets you locate your nearest dealer and make a booking, plus has a couple of extra elements allowing you to find petrol stations and including a Park Me feature that remembers where you left your Mondeo so you won't have to hunt for it in, say, a busy multi-storey car park. As for the warranty, well, like all Fords, this one comes with a 36-month, 60,000-mile package that also includes 1 year of Europe-wide breakdown assistance. On top of that, there's an anti-corrosion guarantee for 12 years. Ford also offers the chance to extend this cover to either 4 years and 80,000 miles or 5 years and 100,000 miles. That only leaves insurance groupings, which start at Group 22E for the 1.5-litre EcoBoost petrol model, or Group 23E, 24E or 26E for the 150 PS 2-litre EcoBlue diesel, the variants depending on the trim level you select. The 190 PS 2-litre EcoBlue diesels rated at Group 26E, 27E or 29E, depending on spec. For insurance, this hybrid is rated at Group 22E or 24E. So, how to summarise? Well, Ford's trying hard here to promote this car's hybrid power plant, but we think it unlikely the brand will gain the kind of customer take-up it's seeking for models equipped with this unit, even with the addition of this estate body style. Certainly, the fact that this engine's restricted to the more expensive leather-lined trim levels and can't be had with the hatch body shape won't help. Ultimately, in this form, a Mondeo is a bit pricey for someone considering a Prius-style self-charging hybrid. And it won't interest many business buyers in the larger D segment because it lacks the clever plug-in tech that more direct rivals use. The bottom line is, though, that this Ford offers by far the cheapest petrol-electric option in the class. And that's got to count for something. Now the Blue Oval brand just needs to work on its marketing proposition.